to another episode of the Musty Wargamers. Here we are.
Hello,
with
everyone.
our special guest,
Hello.
Bill, and Lance Knight, right?
Lance Connect.
Lance Knight. Okay. However you pronounce it. We'll let you do that.
I think I've been saying land shank for a long time.
Yeah. I'm going to shake you. I always thought it was Land's Knight. That's what I always thought. Because knights, right? Land Knight. Isn't that what it's supposed to represent or something?
They're mercenaries
Yeah.
from the 16th century. They had a pretty scoundrel reputation.
So you're saying they're nice, cutthroat kind of guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Land pirates.
Land pirates. Who doesn't love a good pirate? So that's the way we got. So, yeah, we've come back for the next week here, and so we got. Tell yourself a little about yourself, Bill. For those of you who don't know, if you don't know Bill on my channel, introduce yourself.
Well, I'm got my own channel, Lance Connect 1525. It's a modest little tiny channel. I do some wargaming stuff, hobby updates, other interests. Even my border collie and I play X-Wing in one show on my channel too. So,
so it wasn't a solo wargaming.
He does cheat though, so you gotta.
Oh, so he knows how to roll the dice better than you do.
Yeah, unfortunately.
With his hyper hearing, he's able to picks up the dice. Okay, that's what it's going to be. Yeah, eat that. Oops, I did eat one of the dice.
And Bill, you have a pretty wide variety of content on your channel. I mean, because I know you play. Well, one thing you play that I quite like is the Musket and Tomahawks, and you play a lot of French Indian War stuff. Like I do see that regularly on your channel pop up here and there, but then you also do a lot of fictional gaming too. Like I wouldn't say that you're pigeonholed into one style. Like you play, as you just said, X-Wing, but then I saw a bat rep video of yours for Dragon Rampant quite a while ago, and that kind of was one of my introductions to playing it, like seeing it and kind of getting into it. Now I play it. And so you actually were in quite a variety of stuff, I would say.
Yeah. I have been wargaming for decades, so I've dipped my toe in many different pools, so to speak. So fantasy, science fiction, history. It's
you name it, you probably.
You name it.
If you've been around as long as we have, you've seen a few things.
Yeah.
Well, we got Dan Booman showed up tonight, so we got Dan's in the house.
Hey there, Dan.
Hello, Dan.
All right, so what is everybody brought for their musty drink tonight?
Well, who would you like to start?
Well, let's go with the guy up in the corner up there, Mr. Palmer.
Left or right?
Well, it's my right. I don't know if it's your left. I'm not sure how it's laid out on your side. But
I have a Calgary, Alberta beer, somewhat local beer, and it is Rhinestone Cowboy, and it's lagered ale.
You gonna break into song now?
That's right. It's a good one. It's got me.
Is that Pat? No, that's not Pat Boone, is it? No, that's I can see the face of the guy that sings the song.
So yeah, I guess typical lager, I suppose. Nice.
Yeah, right. It's about the same color of my musty drink tonight.
Yours is just a little bit more concentrated in other ways.
Yeah. All right, Bill, what do you have tonight?
I have from Phoenix, Arizona, the Sleepy Dog Brewing, the Feisty Chihuahua, which is a Mexican-style lager. So I'm out here in Arizona. I'm down here in Tucson, so it's a local brewery. So nice. I got a frosty Pilsner for my lager.
Yeah, I have a nice, easy drinking screw top stuff. So we got let's see. Oh, get that right. Here we go. There we go. Dewar's White Label.
There you go.
All right.
So a little bit of not so age so much, but it's got some good flavor to it. So that's what I'm going to be drinking tonight.
Well, at least one musty drink on the show, so to kind of so we can live up to the name,
Yeah, just a little bit of peat to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not overly peated, but it's got enough to say hello. It's not like it's some of the others that I bring on that just like it's like you feel like you're up there. You start talking in the brogue. From the Island of Man. All right. So, what have you guys been up to, Palmer? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I've been my painting has been through spurts, right? Because I worked over the weekend. I don't know about you guys, but I was just doing some bursts of painting and then just taking several days off just because of working and things like that. But what I've got, I kind of showed this on the Facebook Musty Wargamers page already, but I've done some updating of it since then. And I've got my miniatures, and now they're real kind of rusty and bloody in their weapons, right? Like I really went to town. I haven't done this in a while in any painting. It's been a while since I've kind of went to town with blood, but they have these huge weapons that are like the size of them that they're wielding. And so I thought, and actually Zach, who's actually on our page, mentioned something too, like when they were nice and clean, like the weapons, and I hadn't put anything on them yet. He's like, there better be some blood on those, and I'm like, there's gonna be blood as well as rust and all kinds of stuff. So I think they look pretty gritty and pretty bloody now. And yeah, like I think I'm pretty happy with the way these are kind of coming out. Got most of the doodads. Like they have these like little, they're not like plates on their arms. They're actually like almost like growth out of their arm with the chaos symbol. So I kind of painted it red, like it's kind of coming out of its arm. And
so is that actual armor plate, or is that actually
that's just coming out of his arm, kind of?
So it's got the chaos symbol on him then.
Yeah, it's like literally like mutated, like coming out of his arm, and then he's got armor plating too, like on his shoulder. Excuse me, I'm too high there. Armor plating there on his shoulder, but yeah, no, I've actually kind of enjoyed painting these guys up. They're pretty cool, and so I'll be done. I just really have to do the base on these. I'm pretty much happy with how these guys come out, I think.
So almost finished with them.
Yeah, pretty much done. I'll be moving on to the other guy that I showed. Next is going to be literally one of my leaders, like my warband leader on foot. A gore that's got two hand axes. And so him, I love this miniature. I'll do him next, and then I'll after him I'll hit the huge, huge for me huge 20 figures, of course, that I'm doing. The 20 of these guys that I showed, the Bestigores. I'll be doing 20 of those. Nice. After that. Yeah, so moving along slowly but surely through this challenge. But yeah, like I said, I probably could have finished these guys last Saturday if I wasn't working, but then.
Yeah.
It looks pretty brutal.
Yeah.
The paint job or my style or the painting?
All the blood and stuff. That's
yeah. It's like it's a unit you don't want to face on the battlefield.
Yeah. So and I think that the Minotaurs. I mean, all the gores. I think and all of the beast men are supposed to be kind of vicious kind of creatures from the forest that are devil worshippers, right? But I think. When I think of Minotaurs being new to this army, I think of them as being sort of pretty ferocious, right? Like it's what they're supposed to be. And so even though I haven't really done this with the other weapons, like made them real bloody like that, I kind of thought with these huge things they're carrying, it kind of maybe makes sense. They don't even look right, just clean. Like they don't look right to me, like when they're just these big, clean, huge.
Yeah, you want them nice and grimy, gory.
So yeah, I've been doing that. Haven't been gaming as much recently, but just kind of reading a bit more about the Warhammer Fantasy since I'm doing it. And I'm also starting to think more about the French Indian War. Now that I've been doing a lot of fantasy painting, once I'm kind of finished with this challenge, I'm going to be heading back into French Indian War. So I've been thinking a lot about that stuff, but not gaming as much recently. A lot of my schedules and my friends' schedules that I game with recently haven't really matched up. So last couple of weeks, not much gaming. So
Yeah.
So
what have you been up to, Bill?
Well, last weekend I went to RenCon, which is a gaming convention here in Tucson, Arizona. It's mainly board games and role-playing games, though. There's hardly any miniature games. So, but we had a lot of fun. I took my wife; she likes board game.
Yeah.
In regards to projects, my project's not as exciting as Palmer's. But I'm painting boxes, so scatter terrain. So
cool.
not too exciting. And then I got a new book. Battlefields in Miniature.
Nice.
Okay.
So I've been reading through that.
All Davies, huh?
Oh yeah.
So what's that? Is that just talking about the history of miniature gaming, or is it just?
This is a book about making terrain.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, making buildings.
Many different ways.
That's pretty cool. I didn't quite expect that. Even though it's called Battlefields in Miniature, when looking at it, I didn't realize this terrain book.
Yeah,
Neat.
it's a how-to. This guy, he's a author over at what's the name of the magazine? Wargamers Illustrated, I think, maybe.
Okay.
That might be another magazine.
That'd be about the only miniature gaming magazine we got left, I think.
Is he? Yeah, I don't know. I don't keep track of them actually, because, well, but anyways, he does the how-to articles on how to do terrain, and so I think that's like a compilation book of all his different articles
from over the years. So he's put them to good use.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then my other book I just got was a second edition.
Oh, Gaslands.
Oh wow.
So it's basically the same thing as the original book. It's just easier to read, and it's also includes all the free PDFs that are added into this book. So if you already own the regular Gaslands book, then I mean it's optional, but this is hardcover and it's nicer. So I have so.
We certainly got a lot of going on in the chat too, which is great.
Yeah, so Skarner asked you if you played BattleTech, Palmer.
Yeah, I've already answered him. I said nothing like Rusty. Not much, nothing like Rusty.
Yeah, I haven't played BattleTech since Saturday, so yeah, I haven't played anything lately. So at least not in a couple days, and I haven't done anything with BattleTech like making a video or anything since yesterday. So let's see what I've been up to. Let's see, probably click on myself here. If you're on my channel or watch my shows, you've probably seen this bugger. All right, getting back on there. Somehow I knocked him off. All right, you've seen this goes with your old your chaos. So I got my chaos dwarf cannon.
Nice.
That's the one you don't want to lose your keys in.
No, you definitely. But I have a lighter for you if you lose it. So
that joke doesn't seem to get old.
Here, stick your head in there. Here, let me light it up. Boom. Oh, that's enlightening for a second or less. So I have that. I finished that one up, and I do have some bunch of Mantic Chaos Dwarves that I want to put together. I got them together. I just need to. I should have primed them yesterday before the weather hit. Now it's pouring rain. Yesterday was a beautiful day. It was like 75 degrees and sunny. And I got all these guys. So,
sweet. Yeah, you've been busy.
All right.
Yeah, so I finished all those guys up. So for the challenge, I have one. I guess that could be almost 3 units or 2 units, however you want to.
Dire Avengers?
Dark Reapers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So those are my Dark Reapers for my Eldar. So get a close up there. So it's showing. There you go.
All right. Nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
All ready to rock. And today I sent a picture. I put it what I was going to start with the swooping hawks that I have. I have those. I put those into action today. Started working on them. And I have the base colors down pretty much now. I just have to probably for the next 3-4 days start picking out all the details.
Those are the original ones too, I think, that you have, right?
Yeah, a lot of them are.
They are. I think they are.
Most of them are the original. I have a couple of the newer ones in there. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking Eldar aspect warriors, most of them are from the 90s anyway. So, so you're looking at 2nd edition, 3rd edition at best.
Yeah, I had. I think this actually fits with the show pretty well. But I had something that's never happened to me before today, and it's miniature related. But I actually will go through like my local trade things that have nothing to do with miniatures, like sort of like they have a thing called Kijiji in Canada, and it's basically, you just go through those categories and those buy sell forums, and it's like everything, and so they have sections that are hobby related and stuff. But there was somebody selling some really cool terrain. Like they had a lot of the Battlefield in the box stuff that was like brand new, an old GW Games Workshop grass mat like I have right here that they don't sell anymore, and like they just had a bunch of stuff, and it looked like a good deal. So I kind of was like, yeah, I gotta do this because this doesn't come up too often. So they asked me to, they were like, okay, sure. So I'm gonna go over to their place, right? And today had the day off today, and I'm like, yeah, I'll go down there. And so I was kind of dumb. I mean, I did actually. I gave my cell phone, but I never got their cell phone, like in case something would go wrong. And I sent them a message on the thing saying, just in case, or just letting you know, I'm still coming out at this time. I don't hear anything back. And so I go anyway, and it's like 30 minutes from where I live. So that's like an hour drive, right, in total. And so I go down there, and they give me an address number, and basically it jumped like 20 houses, the numbers. Like there was no number. There was no place for the address they gave me. I couldn't find it anywhere. I even knocked on a neighbor's door, and there's like nobody there. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like in this neighborhood, like just looking around, and I'm like, I have no phone number. Like I have like, and in the end, I had to go all the way back. And then like 5 hours later, the guy's like, oh, I'm sorry. I turned my phone off. I expected a knock on the door. And he's like, I live in a side house. He's like, I live in a side house on 23. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is. But honestly, your neighbor had no clue. So how the hell am I going to have a clue? Right? And so
like a coach house.
A whole hour of my day wasted. And I just thought, well, you know what? I'm a guy that loves a deal. Like I do love a deal. But that's the price you pay when you actually love a deal. Is you get into these dumb situations. Oh my gosh, I can tell you, it was just such a dumb thing. So I ended up without any of the terrain, nothing in hand, an hour wasted. And the guy telling me later he's going to be at the mall tonight if you'd like to go. I'm like, meet there. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to waste another hour tonight.
Not happening. Not today. Not doing that.
Man, it was crazy.
I was say a half an hour. That's like across town over here, which is about the same as driving across town, probably for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as far as you could go, but it's still a half hour each way, right? And so, like,
yeah.
I see that as an hour wasted. That doesn't include any of the time I was there, but walking around the neighborhood, people looking at me.
Speaking of being out in the neighborhood, do you guys have snow up there yet?
Yeah, we've already had snow and it's melting. We'll be getting hit with it again, I'm sure. Like it's actually kind of nice out right now, but we had snow last week, and I literally put my winter tires on a week ago. Yeah. And so yeah, it probably sounds weird. Like depending, you guys, I'm guessing, have not at this time of the year had any snow yet.
Not yet. Well, we could have. I've seen snow the first weekend of October around here, but
okay.
Right now we started the day off. It was about 68, 69 when I ate dinner tonight. And when I was coming down, I looked, and it's 50 degrees. So the temperature's dropping. We're supposed to get down into like 20 something degrees tonight. or
Mhm.
tomorrow. So cold front's coming through, and they're talking snow. So hey, it could be worse.
Much
I could
snow in
live in.
Phoenix, Bill?
What's that?
Pretty
Much
cold.
snow in Phoenix, Bill?
Yeah.
We're in Tucson, Arizona. It's
Oh,
really cold
I
out
thought you
here.
said-
It's like at 80 degrees right now. So
Really cold. Yeah. Yeah. It's a dry cold, right?
yeah. I don't know what that snow is. I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's something that happens every couple of years around here. All right, so we have a couple topics that we can probably get to tonight. Maybe get through at least one of them.
Yeah.
So we'll have you take this one off, kick it off with us, Palmer. It's if you want to introduce it.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So this you could go a lot of different ways with this topic. There's a lot of different components, and I think we could feel free to go whichever way we want with it. But essentially, online wargaming communities. I think of Facebook quite a bit with Facebook groups just because I'm in so many of them and they're just so accessible and there's so many of them that pop up. But you could really think about forums as well, discussion forums as a type of community that I would have been more involved with than prior to Facebook groups.
Yeah.
And then there are many other different avenues that people engage in communities, whether they be commenting in blogs and just other kinds of things. And I wanted to just get people's thoughts on like kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, what are the pros and the cons? How much part of your hobby life is online communities? How do online communities differ for you, supplement or detract from your local communities that you might be involved with? What the reason that you kind of engage in them? Do you find them helpful? Do you find them helpful, but also maybe a burden? Just really kind of let people just kind of take it where you'd like to go with it. So yeah, I don't know who'd like to hit that first. Bill is our special guest. Would you like to kind of take a crack at it?
Sure. Well, about 20 years ago, I would use the Yahoo groups, which is a forum-based, email-based thing, but that pretty much dried out about 10 years ago. That was for local wargaming.
Mm-hmm.
Then over the past 10, 15 years, I've been using Facebook, and I admined actually a total of 5 groups. 4 of those groups are actually local groups, and then 1 is a international group. Local. I did Tucson Infinity Miniatures, Tucson Flames of War, and Tucson Warhammer Fantasy / Kings of War. Those are the Infinity one's going strong, and I'm kind of inactive on it. but hey, it's pretty cool. And then the last one I'm kind of is a pet project is Skirmish Wargaming, but that's only active because I post stuff on there. Nobody else does.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to post things on the different forums every once in a while to set up games. They're useful for saying, hey, is anyone available for a game? And then post a time and space where you're available, and then people will respond. It's pretty useful. That's pretty much for local communities. Now, I do like the Miniature Modeling Mayhem, which is one of the international communities I'm one of the monitors for. That's kind of an interesting group because of the fact that we get to post things up there and get all sorts of different viewpoints on things that we're working on. We can get feedback on different projects we're working on, stuff like that. Very much like the Musty Wargamers Facebook group too, which is just beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about the same line, because that's some of the folks that are active in the Miniature Modeling Mayhem are on the Musty Wargamers group too. So
Right.
A little bit of crossover.
Yeah. So I find that useful. It's a tool. Although the downside is that you can spend hours on Facebook without realizing it.
Yeah.
And that's the time.
Yes, you can,
So,
which detracts from painting.
So your miniature modeling mayhem, like Musty Wargamers, it's kind of like online community in the sense of not so much setting up a game as much, at least at this point, but more, just feedback of what you're up to and just what do you think of this, showing people things, just really kind of in some ways presenting things people are interested in and stuff. But then also you use it as a big part of using it as a tool locally. You interface, you're using something online, but it's actually also facilitating a local need, like just to schedule games.
oh yeah, that's what the local groups that I set up. Some of them are inactive, like the Flames of War. it's kind of not active in Tucson anymore. So,
do you spend much time on the online groups that seem to support like one game? Not like you're supporting Infinity locally, but more like Infinity's game. Like I don't know if they have one group, but like I could say Saga like has their own group, right? So I like Saga, so I go to the Saga group. It's international. You get to see information about the game coming out. You get to see people painting stuff, but it's just Saga. It's just everything Saga. Tournament comes up for Saga, it's on there. So do you kind of get involved with any of those? Because I know you're into a lot of games. Do you ever find those?
Oh yeah, I'm signed up for about 80 different groups, but with those groups, I usually just put highlights on.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm actually focused on a particular thing. Like these days, I'm focused on Test of Honor, so I have that on the highest rating to post anything up. But so I can change that around based on what my interests are. So, which is nice.
Cool. So how about so I have like a number of different facets of this I could bring up, but like for your initial thoughts, Rusty, as far as how you approach online groups, like what are the ones you're involved with, and what do you like? What are the pros and cons for you, and like what are your thoughts on this? And the same.
Well, I'm about 30 different groups, I think, on Facebook alone. I used to be, like you said, a lot of them were on Yahoo at one time. I still was part of one up until recently that was board game related for historical board gaming. And that's kind of it's still going kind of strong, but they've transferred over to Facebook. But it's one of those things where you can spend a lot of time and get immersed into it and get ideas and see cool stuff that people are doing all the time. And I spend most of my time, it's like, all right, I get up during eating breakfast, it's like check things out. Oh, that's cool. Either say something or that, another, get a little bit of inspiration for the days ahead for the painting, when you got the opportunity to do something. And lunchtime, and then in the evening, I just like sometimes when I'm not chatting with some guy named from Heresy Productions about some movie.
Movie? I don't watch movies.
No, not at all. It's you can spend a lot of time getting involved in everything. It's like the biggest ones that I have a footprint in is you look at the BattleTech ones. There's BattleTech International, there's BattleTech Custom and Painting. There's those two. I post a lot of stuff over there. There's some of the friends that we have part of the group, local group, are also members of it, so they share stuff over there. And there's always somebody's like, oh, I played this game, or it's like I have some questions or ideas. Or that's the nice thing about it, is if you have a question about a game, it's like you can go online and get risk yourself being ripped a new one, or you can go to these groups and say, hey, I got this question, I need an answer, and there's always going to be somebody within seconds usually answering your question for you. And that when you have an international community, somebody's always up. So
Right.
that's the nice thing. And then there's the local. It's like, like you, Bill. We have our local ones. We have the one that's attached to the local game shop. Then we have the Iowa. We got one for Iowa alone for everybody. It's because it is a big state. It takes about 5-6 hours to drive across it. So there's a few people around here, and so it's easier sometimes to, like you said, hey, is there somebody available? I want to play a game or something. It's like, hey, if you want to drive 2 hours, I'm here, type of deal. And let's see what else we have.
I thought you were kidding. Coming from Alberta, which you can fit Texas inside of, I thought you were kidding when you said 5 hours was a big drive across. But
no,
serious. I'm just kidding.
Well, you're 12 hours away, or was it? No, you're more than 12. Now you're like 16 or 17 hours away.
When I moved to Canada as an American, normally they only show you like the United States in the geographical picture. When you're in Canada, they only show you Canada. They don't show them next to each other. But when I moved to Canada, not to derail the discussion, I was talking like Texas was big, right? I was talking to my work colleagues, Texas is big, and they like kind of laughed at me. And they're like, "You ever seen it next to where you are right now?" The size
of not that big.
You could fit Texas inside of it.
And there's a lot of open space up there.
That's true. It's population condensed. It's like Nexus is in Edmonton and Calgary and stuff. Yeah. Most of the population is close to the border.
It's like, most of us, you get past Chicago, and then as you're heading west, until you get to Denver, you just have pockets of civilization, and otherwise you just have farm field or ranches or whatever. That's the same way up north. You either have woods, or occasionally you got a little bit of ranching here and there or something of that nature. So,
right.
So when it's like I want to go back to where the old farm was, that's like 9.5 hours away from where I live. So it's a bit of drive. Mm-hmm. But there's also other groups I'm part of. I'm actually like the Blood and Plunder guys. They have their own, and then they have their local ones. So like they're in Florida. So there's a couple Florida Facebook groups that I'm a member of too. And they play BattleTech. They have Blood and Plunder, you name it, any kind of type of game. And they're always putting up, it's like, I'm playing this board game, I'm doing a review, and they put up a review or something. It's like, and I love playing board games, and you just look at it and go, oh yeah, I got to resist getting another, because I kind of moved away from board games because you know how time is. So, yep. What do you think, Palmer?
Well, you could go a lot of different directions with this, but I mean, I primarily now spend time on Facebook groups, as far as community like that way, outside of YouTube. I mean, like YouTube, it's kind of ironic because we're talking about things outside of YouTube, which we all participated in and kind of know each other from first, I think. And YouTube has this big community, but I'm kind of talking more about, I guess, communities that through the written word, and that kind of thing. That's what I'm thinking of, not YouTube in this case. And Facebook groups, I was thinking about it recently because they're really piling up so much. And one of my friends invited me to a group recently, and I told him, because he has his own groups, and he invited me to a group recently, which I'm glad he started this group. But I said, if I join this, I got to jump out of that one because I'm getting into so many of these that a rule I have right now is that any group I join, I have to leave a group if I'm going to join it. And so, because I find that it gets a bit overwhelming. Like I see all this stuff, and I look at the last time I even checked this group out. It's been a while because I just have so many of them. And then the way to combat that and not have to look through these large lists is to start leaving them for me. And I was looking at it, and I joined groups for a few reasons. One of them is actually buy-sell groups. Because I'm into old miniatures, one of the best ways for me to find rare stuff is through buy-sell groups that are large, that are interested in like a very finite thing. You can kind of unite everybody that's into this and that, or, have, let's say, Oldhammer miniatures. That's a really great way. And so that I do spend a lot of time just looking through like rare miniatures that other people have, like in buy-sell groups. I spend a lot of time with that, particularly when I'm kind of interested in picking something up. But even in general. And then I also, I belong to groups like I kind of alluded to where I'm part of the Saga group. I'm part of the Sharps Practice group, like groups that focus on a game that I really like, where it's a community around that. So I can see either painted armies or changes to the game that are coming up. Usually it's like the game, one of the more primary groups for that game. You know, it usually has some sort of, if it's not official, at least is the largest of its kind. And so I usually will do that as well. And then, you know, there are community type groups. Like I just joined, Bill, the group that you're an admin on. That's like the Miniature Modeling Mayhem. Like that's I just recently joined that. And then also Tabletop Commanders is Musty Wargamers, like those. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those I see is initially is seeing people that I know through YouTube, because that's like I would say that's like the bigger community that I consider myself involved with. And so being able to touch base and see stuff there, I think is great. And there are like niche groups where, even though I'm not buying anything on the page because I like the Old Hammer stuff, like there's one that's like Old Hammer in the New World. So it's just basically this group of people in North America that are just posting the stuff they like they're doing, like, you know, that's Old Hammer related. And it's a bit of a smaller group compared to some of the other larger Old Hammer groups, but I just kind of like it. And so that's one I can go in and it's just eye candy. I post stuff I'm painting, like Musty Wargamers, and I look at what other people are doing, and it's just for fun, like, you know, just to see something in a niche area. And so there's so many different ways to use these groups. So for me, one of the negatives is just the sheer number of them. And I think one of the things that it's a positive and a negative, because like, whenever you have a large number of something, it means more availability, like more options to look into things. And that could be considered very good. The opposite is nothing to look into and to see. And most people like more options. But I think the reason why there's a lot of options too is because anybody can make a group, right?
Yeah.
So like, you could just basically, everybody that's in the hobby could create their own group for that hobby, you know, theoretically speaking. And that's why we end up with so many, right? And it's difficult. And so it's hard. There's a little bit of a peer pressure aspect, because if you have friends within these groups and they kind of, or even through YouTube or whatever, like there's a peer pressure, like to be involved and stuff like that. So I think time wise, like Bill was saying, like you could conceivably spend a lot of time looking at what you like, which is miniature gaming, but never touch a brush or roll a die, because you could just take it all in, like just look at all this stuff like all day long, like on Facebook, right? And just, you know, do I want to paint right now? Well, I'm kind of in the middle of looking at all this stuff.
It's a distraction.
Yeah. And so that could be.
I was going to say, you know, it's like you're talking about how it's so easy to get distracted about everything. And it's like there's so many groups. In some ways, I feel that there's a lot of individuals that you'll find on Facebook doing a lot of active stuff, but they don't have channels. Mm-hmm. For YouTube, because it's like one step above they're willing to put in, but they're willing to put in a lot of time. You know, they're just going to focus on that one group. That's all they ever do. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's a way for them to stay active in the larger community without taking a lot of other time or needing equipment to do stuff. Because there's so much you can do like your cell phone, you know.
And, you know, there is a certain amount of anonymity, too, that can be involved. I mean, I guess people can look at your Facebook profile, et cetera. But, you know, it's still YouTube. Not everybody's as comfortable being on camera. And that's a piece, too, that I think people go through when they first join YouTube. Yeah. And so that's definitely a part of it. I know the Facebook, I mean, like there's sort of trolls everywhere. So I'm not going to say one platform is actually, you know, at fault or worse than others, you know, when it comes to that. But I do know discussion forums have a bit of a bad rap for getting lots of sort of arguments and long-winded, like never-ending discussions that can actually, you know, like, and that does happen in Facebook too, I suppose. I don't see it as much, like it's compared to some of the discussion forums that I've been involved in the past. And so that's something that, you know, that's just an online thing. I don't think that, you know, as far as like, we can run into that online, and we can even run into it in our YouTube channels to some degree. But there is a certain amount of the more people you gather together, then sometimes you can draw individuals that you wouldn't necessarily want to socialize with in your local community, let's say, and so that you have more of a chance of running into them, to be honest, in the bigger communities that you get into. And so that can be something that can be a challenge. And moderators, like not moderation, but like moderators doing moderation, are part of the solution to that, I think. But that's definitely an interesting part of it. And I do find, like Rusty said, that having these big groups that you can tap into with information to be really helpful. Like one of the only couple of non-miniature wargaming Facebook groups that I'm part of is one for my 3D printer. Like there's one that's a Facebook group that focuses on the models of 3D printer that I have, and there are just so many people that know so much about these things on there. Like anytime I would ever have a very specific technical problem, like Rusty said, in seconds, like 3 people will come in and give you like an engineering answer. I mean, it's amazing. And so that kind of stuff is really, really helpful. I do find that helpful.
Yeah.
And so and YouTube has served in a function like that for me as well. I mean, when I started painting again and really got serious about painting miniatures, I did it in a time when YouTube was available, and I actually spent a lot of time just looking at YouTube videos. And that's how my channel started, was really to kind of, I guess, document my hobby and progress over time. So
and that's how I found your channel, was just watching your videos on what you were doing.
Yeah, same here.
Those Eldar guys. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah. So in general, it is interesting, like we were saying, like just how much time we can spend doing that, and the whole distraction aspect. Now, do you guys ever feel a little overwhelmed with the number of them? Have you ever, do you let them all pile up and just not look at some, or do you kind of try to leave them? How do you limit and prioritize your time on these things?
It's like for me, I don't know how about you, Bill, but for me, there's a lot of times I'll just go through. It's like I have my favorites. It's always going to be the Battletech ones, or number one. And then it goes down from the Blood and Plunder stuff. Then you have your priority. Is there some of the stuff that's way at the bottom, like the Musty Wargamers? I never looked at that.
I was waiting for that. Wait for it.
Like really unimportant. So, but yeah, it's a matter of, it's like the first thing I do is like I look in my feed. It's like if someone will post something that I have Battletech friends from around the country too, and there's even individuals I played the game with from way back in the late 80s and 90s, early 90s, that they're now on. It's like I'm no longer playing with them because they moved away across the country or whatever, but they're on the forum. So it's like, hey, look, it's like, it's like remembering old stuff that you used to do. And so your friends on Facebook, and then they'll post something and it popped up on your feed, and it's like, I automatically go to, let's say, Battletech International, and it's like, oh, scan through, yep, like that one. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. And just go through it. So you have your ones that you focus on, and then it's like, oh, I'm running out of time, so I'll just kind of flip over to this one real quick, check things out. And a lot of times it's like, yep, like. We have even talked about the other social medias like Instagram. So I got a big, over 1,000 followers on Instagram.
Wow.
I wish the 1,000 followers on Instagram would come over and join me on YouTube. I'd be up there real quick. But
see, I don't even have an Instagram account.
Yeah.
I got a Twitch account though.
It's like that. I had Twitter for a while, and it's like I didn't like Twitter at all. I just found it was like caustic. It's like there's where you have these really, pardon my language, or asshats, is that you get some of these individuals that are just toxic. And it's like,
and we actually will be talking about that shortly. At least we'll be talking. We have another topic coming up tonight that may relate to that. But,
yes,
but I guess, yeah. So the other thing, though, I find more and more lately, and particularly with the Musty Wargamers, because we both have, as as folks involved with this show and involved with the starting the Musty Wargamers Facebook page, we both have local friends that are gamers and people we know locally that we've invited and that are part of that. So we both have local groups that are sort of a significant percentage of the beginnings of the Musty Wargamers Facebook page. And so in some ways, you can even use your online communities, as Bill was talking about with setting up games before, like locally doing things. But even Musty Wargamers isn't really set up to be a local page, but we actually have our sort of local friends and people and associates like in life that we've kind of invited to that. And so I do find in the same way we use, again, it's just an extension of the internet, but we use the internet, like we send friends links to trade pages of games that we're into. Like we send friends links of a YouTube video, like, hey, watch this, but in the same way with these online broader wargaming groups, we actually interact with our local friends with them, right?
Yep. We drag them with us.
Yeah. And it's a way just to sort of continue to socialize with those that are in our life that have the same interests we do, and just incorporate that even on a broader platform, right? And connect with them there as well. Which sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but there are friends that I might not see for months that are local, just because I don't have a game with them and we're busy in life. Mm-hmm. But then I could be interacting with that local person through this, and it doesn't feel like it's been 3 months because we're actually every other day sending something, or something like that.
Yeah. But the other good thing is that if you're not able to get a game in for a couple weeks or something because your life is so busy, or you like vacation, like summertime is like for Palmer and I, we have a tendency to just go running rampant elsewhere and running away from our hobby a lot of times. And then you get individuals that will post up battle reports or, pictures of stuff, and you're living vicariously through them. And it keeps you in the hobby without drifting away completely. Mm-hmm. That's a nice thing about all these communities. And if you're able to drag your friends with you, even better. So then you can, hey, remember the game we had this weekend where I humiliated you?
So what do you think about I think in a lot of ways, these other mediums have replaced the discussion forums for many people. Now, those discussion forums are still alive and well. Many of the big ones are still alive and well. But I've heard complaints at times from folks about that transition from discussion forum to these other mediums. Mm-hmm. For those of you that have been in these kinds of discussion forums in the past, like, do you think that Facebook and Instagram or any of these kind of things have been a good replacement for those? Do they serve the same purpose?
I think so in a lot of ways. I remember a lot of the forums, you had to physically get on there and troll through and look through things. And then you get some of these guys that would come in and they weren't so nice to everybody else. And you still get a lot of that with on Facebook, but when you're unless you create a separate account that's totally separate from your normal account, which to me that's a lot of extra work. But your name is attached, so they know who you are. Mm-hmm. And
Oh, I actually one thing I miss about the forum type of groups is you can search for different things.
Yeah,
that happened in the past.
Yeah,
and
the
Facebook
topics
is so chronological that it's a bear to try to find something that happened 3 months ago.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's impossible.
Yeah, that's one thing you're right about Facebook forums. It is chronological, so you have to keep spinning through everything. And then I don't know about you, but there are times when you're spinning through and you're like, okay, and it goes right back to the top again.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm trying to go to a week ago, and you just sent me back to today again because they don't want you to go back. They want to see what's now, and it automatically kicks. Now, that's a very big negative I find with Facebook, is that you spin enough down to the bottom, it just kicks you right back to the top.
Yeah.
And so with a discussion forum, I'm sure you guys know this, but there are times when you can sticky something like at the top.
Yeah.
And there would be certain kinds of forums where you would have almost instruction or summary
topics
of things. So like, let's say it's a Warhammer 40K forum, and all of a sudden it's like, well, this is everything Eldar, like, and this is like everything we've compiled of like all this stuff, like, and this is a forum about tactics, and so these, as a group, we've decided these are great strategies and tactics for Eldar players, and you could have this whole thing, and it's stickied, and it's it's basically edited and put there and left there, that people could go back to. I just use that as an example where it's difficult to do that in Facebook. As a matter of fact, sometimes when you first search Facebook for posts, I've noticed that the year doesn't even matter. It comes up like 2013, 2018, 2015. Like you just see all the stuff come down. It's like useless, it's particularly for buy-sell stuff, because it's like long gone, that stuff. That's so
ancient history.
Yeah. And so the forum for the written word was a much more concise way of managing and editing material, and I think, that's something that I think is, at least in the way I use Facebook groups, is kind of lost, I think. I mean, you can save files within a group. You could have a file that could be that thing I just described, and just literally it's a file you go and grab. But I think it's not as conducive as the forums were for it, in the way they had categories and subcategories and things like that.
Yeah, you go back to, it's like, well, I used to spend a lot of time on the 40K forums, the Dystopian Wars forums, where you're going back 10, 15 years for a lot of those. And like you said, or even the War Machine, War Mahords, and that was another one I was really popular or spent a lot of time on, because you'd have a question or something. You just you're right. You just go up to the search engine because you're a member. Like, I'm looking for that. Click. And here comes everything that's related to it. And you're like, oh, that's the one I was looking for. Because I had that, it's like that question came up, and you get it's like get a discussion on. It's like, how's that? Let's say that specific unit supposed to actually work the wording, and the official information came across. This is how it's supposed to actually work. And he's like, see, this is where it says that's what you're supposed to do. And they go, okay. End of argument. It's official. So
yeah.
That's one thing you don't get with Facebook at all.
Yeah. It's useful for meetups, I think, but and then new things that you're trying to post, but trying to search for archives. One of the things one of the forums I used to love was the Lead Adventure forum, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that one.
Yep.
I went in on there recently, and unfortunately, a lot of the photos have been aged, so you can't click on them anymore. So,
were they attached to a lot of the photos services, or?
Yeah.
So a lot of those are gone now. So
So unfortunately, they're fantastic photos back in the day, but you can't access them anymore.
Yeah. That was one of the casualties of some of those photo sites, where everybody would just allow the photo to host it, the photo site to host it, but then they just hold it and then it's gone. Yeah.
Like all you get is link not available to
And you don't get that on Facebook. I mean,
because the person that put it up, that's part of their, stuff. It's like I got thousands and thousands of photos of game stuff alone.
Well, Facebook's hosting it too, right?
Yeah,
they are hosting it. They're happy to own that photo. But there's another component to this, and the thing about the Facebook community that I'm not as keen on is that I don't use Facebook a lot except for my hobby. I mean, I do have social friends, and I don't my feed is almost non-existent. I mean, I probably put 2 posts up a year on my feed, and I mainly use it for groups, like just for my hobby. But one of the things I did notice is that some of these groups are public groups, and some of them are private or closed groups. And the thing about the public groups is that if you at all use your Facebook for relatives, friends, and family that have nothing to do with wargaming, whether or not you're ashamed of being a nerd, which I'm not, but you may still not want to impose your nerdness on everyone that's not a nerd, so to speak, or a wargamer. And anytime you join, like as I understand it, there may be some settings that you can configure that cancel out what I'm talking about. But at a basic level, if you are in a public group and you post something, all of your friends that are actually not that are not necessarily involved with this, can actually see that, and get a notification of something that you post. And so I have had many people that have nothing to do with my wargaming hobby show up on these groups to do a like or kind of look at what I'm into, and that's fine, but I also know that there are many, for everyone that's doing that, there's 10 that are actually like, what is this? And so that's something that's interesting in the way they categorize groups and access. And then what that basically tells me is that like your Facebook profile, kind of is shared with everyone with these interests. And unless you actually kind of set it up such that you can block it, things that are very specific that you'd like to talk about in isolation with people that are interested in that, you can end up spamming like everyone about it. Have you guys ever done that you know of?
Had people come over and commented on stuff on it?
No, just that you find out that you're actually spamming like everyone about the goblins that you're painting.
I used to do, actually, I would post all of my painting pictures before I got into a lot of the groups. I put them, I got photo albums, on my own feed. So they would go there. People were like, what is that? I'm like, that's stuff I paint,
Yeah.
Like, so eventually you get to the point where people are like, oh yeah, he's just putting stuff up. No big deal.
Yeah. Well, and it, and it's one thing to like, well, one, everybody have a different comfort level of what they want to share. It's one thing even just put something up that you paint. I can tell you that like not that long ago, I decided, because I really like the Age of Magic Saga game, to just start a discussion about Titans within Saga, like the Titan creature and how it compares to the Behemoth and the Scourge. And I don't really, as much as I'm actually interested in talking to people in the Saga group about that, I don't necessarily want my cousins to be involved, like with that discussion, because they don't really, it's just a level of granularity within the hobby that they don't need to see or be bothered with, right? And so that's kind of why I found it kind of interesting, and where sometimes the groups are great for me, like really great, and then sometimes I'm not so sure how I kind of like the way they're set up, or just different aspects of them.
Yeah. I guess I never gave it much thought about that myself. Be honest with you, it's like, if you don't like it, too bad. Don't comment it on.
Yeah, no, it's true.
That's the way I look at it. If you don't like something I say, just move along. It's like there's stuff that people are always putting up, like, oh, you made another quilt, yay.
Rusty's like, I was just talking to my cousins about goblins before dinner, so I don't know what you're talking about, Palmer.
Oh, my brothers play BattleTech. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh boy,
it must just be me, but I do find that interesting, just because it just depends. I mean, like, you could even some people could even potentially use Facebook for different mediums, like even professionally and things like that. And let's say you have a situation where you just don't necessarily want to engage people in a certain aspect of your life, like a certain hobby, like you just like to keep it separate, and you can't always do it. It just depends on the way you set it up. And so I do find it sort of interesting.
So have you guys ever got any really bad negative comments or rude people coming up to you and talking to you about that, like part of your social media?
No.
Now, do you mean specifically Facebook, or do you mean YouTube?
Any type of media, any type of stuff like that, where somebody just out and out, just really rude.
Absolutely. Like, I absolutely on YouTube have had negative comments. I've had everything. Now, it's not a lot. I'd actually happen to say that if I use YouTube as the primary point of the discussion, I would say that I find the wargaming community is really good on YouTube. I actually find it's great, and 99.99% of it is I don't have any problem from, like, as far as like my audience or people on my channel. But you have enough views, right, and enough people coming to the channel. Like I still have probably 80% of my views are non-subscribers, and so of that 80%, there is going to be people that come through that like to use it as like a litter box, you know, as they come through, and you know, like, and I do occasionally get comments, like, you know, I get everything from just somebody like, I mean, the other day, just from a video from a long time ago, because I was looking at a miniature up close, I guess, on a Saga video that I painted and just talking about it. And he just kind of made a point just to like, well, he said, why expletive do you care what it looks like up close? And then that's all he says. Now, that's not really that bad, but it's just the tone, right? Like this thing.
Yeah, you can read into the tone.
Yeah, the kind of engagement, it's just negative. I don't know who this person is. It's like, it's just negative. And I've had outright worse things, like, yeah, and there's great tools on YouTube to just immediately ban those people from your channel, and just you can even remove the comment, and so I have had that kind of stuff, and usually it's fairly irrational or immature. I mean, it's nothing to be worried about, but there's, like I said, there's like really good tools for the most part. I don't find my channel, and like the wargaming channels tend to be really provocative in the way they're going to try to elicit negative comments. You know, I mean, it's usually just, you know, playing war games and, you know, doing your painting, like doing this stuff. And it's usually not the kind of material that generates a lot of negative feedback. But anytime you give somebody a chance to say something negative, I mean, there is going to be somebody that's going to take that opportunity.
Yeah.
How about you, Bill?
On Facebook, I'm pretty positive, but my channel is small fries compared to your guys's. So
we're all small fries here.
Put us together, we're not even a blink at some of these people.
yeah. But I'm just saying, I'm below 200, so I don't have as many negative people. I think what surprised me was the video that I did as kind of a joke got like 5 dislikes on it. I was like, oh, there you go. And it was you know, my dog playing X-Wing. I guess someone was thinking it was a serious video or something. I was like, okay.
It's a parody of a parody. What are you guys complaining about?
And then I think there was one comment I had on one video where I said something wrong, and I think I was a little inebriated when I made the video, so maybe, you know, someone commented on that, but I'm like, okay.
I remember, which brings up a kind of an interesting, you know, I used to spend a lot of time watching World of Tank videos, and this one guy would get on and he would have drunk tank. He would get shit-faced, and then he'd play World of Tanks. Drunk tank! You know, it's like you're watching this, and you listen to him, and it's like, it was funny. I thought it was funny. He's just like, he's being a dumbass. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, but he's doing it in fun.
Right.
And these people are getting on there. It's like, they're just ripping them a new one. It's like, I don't understand what's your guys' problem. I'm just doing this for fun. I'm having a few at the same time. Quit taking it serious. You know?
Yeah.
And that's where too many individuals will come along. It's like you get to drive by individual every once in a while. That most of these comments I get that are negative, like on my YouTube channel, end up in my spam folder, and I don't notice them for a while. As I go back, and it's like I got this comment, like, where'd it go? Oh, it's probably in spam folder. So I go, because it's somebody that usually comments on my videos all the time. So like Palmer or something, and I have to go and get him out of the spam jail or something, and then I'll go through, and it's like, oh my gosh, look at all these comments through here. It's like, oh, okay, that one. Oh, okay. I probably should do this more often, and I'll forget for a month or two. So,
yeah,
that type of deal. But you get these individuals that come through and just rip you a new one, and then drive by and just it was like a drive-by shooting or something, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, we do have, I think, a smaller percentage of trolls like in our YouTube wargaming community, but they're still out there. I mean, it's gaming in general, and so you do have those folks. I mostly laugh at it. I mean, so much so that for a while there, I would write a comment so he could see it in his email. You know, like as a comment comes to your or it used to come to your email, and I would write bye-bye, and then just delete them. So this way, and then also block them. So like it's just bye-bye, and you can't actually respond anymore, and just laugh, right? Like, just laugh, because it's nothing to take seriously. These folks,
Yeah, it's like I've watched a lot of channels and stuff. If you're like me, you spend a lot of time. Especially if I'm painting, I'll sit there and we got Atomic Dog Scale Model Freaks on. All right,
hello,
and you sit there and it's like, oh, this video is bad, but I don't dislike it. I don't thumb down anybody. That's not something I do. It's just not in my nature. It's like, if I don't like it, I just like, I'm tired of watching it. I'll move on to the next video. I'm not wasting my time on it.
Right.
But you get these individuals that are just so negative. They'll thumb down a video and then make a bad comment. And you'll see it on, it's like some of the channels I watch which are really big. You get into these channels that are 100,000 or more, 50,000, and then they'll get all these comments. And you're like, why are you taking your time out of your life to do this? It's like, beyond.
And Atomic Dog Scale Model Freak is correct, and that at least the way the algorithm used to work, and what I'm aware of, is that dislikes are still considered engagement, which is considered good for your channel. And so the worst thing you can do to somebody's video is immediately click off of it and not engage at all. Like quickly, like as soon as it comes on, like watch 5 seconds and just click out. That's considered like a negative impact for the channel. It means people aren't interested or whatever. But if you're actually watching it and then clicking a dislike, it's just like clicking a like on it. And so in a lot of ways, it really just depends. I mean, like folks that I don't really think a whole lot about, the likes versus the dislikes at this point in my channel. I kind of did when it first started, because it's like negative validation. He's like, well, they didn't say anything to me, but they dislike me,
I'm here to be liked. Why don't you like me?
Yeah. Now I could care less, honestly. I've been doing this since 2012, 2011 or whatever. But it is true, like that for folks that I'm not like a YouTuber in the sense of the type that tries to understand how to tweak YouTube to maximize like my videos. Like I don't do that enough. There's a lot that I don't know because I don't really spend the time to learn it. Yeah. But for the folks that do know it, I know that there are many of them that would be quite happy to get dislikes, that they would actually make videos to get lots of dislikes. So this way it helps their channel, right? Like they know how the algorithms work. And that's just really way beyond me at this point. If anything, I've kind of been pulling back on my progression from a technology point of view over the years.
There are times it's like I look at my channel, I'll put, I do my, like my weekly video. Occasionally I get 2 of them if I have the time. And it's like I'm thinking of putting it together. I really need to take the time to make a really cool, flashy intro. Mm-hmm. Nah, I'm going to go paint some more. It's like painting my miniatures is more important than making a flashy intro. It's like, to me, it's like you prioritize what is important to you. It's like, to me, painting miniatures is more important than my flashy intro.
Yeah.
And I've gotten people occasionally say, why don't you make a flashy intro? Because I'd rather paint miniatures. Sorry.
Yeah.
Rusty, you should really get something to hold your paints on your desk. So
I do. I have a lot. It's just,
I remember that though, right?
Yeah.
Why are all your paint scattered on your desk?
Because they're there.
So I think this is kind of similar. I think we're kind of blending into it, but Bill, you kind of had another topic for us to talk about tonight, and it was actually, we're kind of blending into it already. So I kind of maybe you should just kind of introduce it.
Oh, what grinds my gears? Behaviors that gamers have on the table that just annoy me.
Okay.
So
like at the gaming table, at your local club or wherever you play, what grinds your gears with other gamers when you're gaming with them?
Most annoying aspects of the social interaction at the table.
Yeah. So like, well, you guys probably know that I just not only game miniatures, but I play board games as well as role-playing games.
Mhm.
And there's a term in board gaming called AP, which is called analysis paralysis.
Mhm.
And when someone takes their turn and they take forever to figure out what to do, I'm like, come on.
You've had all this time while I'm sitting there moving my stuff around. You had plenty of time to think about what your interaction until it's like your turn. You're like, hello, McFly, anybody in there?
They're distracted or like talking to someone, and they come to, what happened? You're playing a game. That's one of the things. The other thing is the opposite way around. And this only happened to me once, but I was at a Flames of War tournament, and this kid about 10 years younger than me was rushing me throughout the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
That was exceedingly annoying.
Telling me what to do with my army while I'm doing it. It's like, we're playing a really in-depth and aggressive game, and you're telling me what I should be doing? I don't think so.
No, he was really, yeah.
What you're saying is going too fast is bad and too slow is bad. Both too fast and too slow. So it's kind of like driving. Like all the people going faster than you are a-holes, and all the people going slower are idiots.
Yeah. Well, we're all the idiots.
That's right.
Because we're the fools rushing around at rush time.
Yeah, I never experienced that before. Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Is your turn done?
No, I just started the first squad. Give me a break here. It's like I've talked about this one before. Is you get on in a game? It's like I was playing a Battletech, and I think it might have been Origins. It could have been Gen Con. One was like you pick your miniature up in your battle mech, and you're about ready to move. And the guy's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. And it's like, that's like, and you look at him, it's like, finally I said, do you want to, all right, tell you what, you just put it where you think I should put it, and then we'll call it good. And you're like, oh, no, that's your thing. Well, you're telling me where to put it. Now, just back off.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where to put it.
Because this mech is about ready to go someplace you don't want it. And it's made of metal.
That leads to another one that just grinds my gears is the peanut gallery. Not the player that you're playing against, but other people that are walking around in the store and they just happen to see your game and they have to go, oh, you just made a mistake. You didn't do that rule correctly. I'm like, what?
Are you playing with me? It's like, well, according to rule on page 37 of the rule book, this states, quote, unquote. They're like,
yeah, and they're not even in a game. I'm like, come on, we're having fun. We're just doing our thing.
There's been a time where I actually picked a dice up. We're playing at the local shop, and I picked them up and was like, held them out to him and go, obviously, you want to play. Like, no. I was like, then back up. Let me do my thing.
Yeah.
Because if you want to talk about it, I'll give you these miniatures, then you can shut up and do your thing.
Yeah.
And that shuts them up pretty good.
What do you think, Palmer?
Oh gosh, it's funny because you're just dipping into human behavior, right? And so like the sky's the limit here, and I don't have a lot of tournament experience. I mean, I have gaming experience with strangers and things. Particularly, I mostly play with friends now, admittedly, but particularly in the beginnings in Calgary when I was gaming here, I was mainly playing with new people every time, and so I find that the social awkwardness that sometimes comes into meeting new people in a gaming environment where people already are dealing with social awkwardness to begin with can actually create lots of issues. And so I dislike it when I feel like I go to a game and instead of just being friendly, like with somebody you don't know and just trying to have a good time, you feel like you're just like they have their friends there and they're talking more with their friends and like you're just there to move the pieces into play against, but they're not very friendly. Like I find like that piece to be quite annoying. And I think we're dipping into human behavior here. It's not just being a gamer, but it's just whether that person's really able to make new friends, so to speak.
They're socially inept. basically.
Yeah, and I find that quite difficult. I kind of like people to have a certain level of just, being able to be open to meet new people and be friendly and stuff when you're going to do that. And so I find that to be difficult. There's so many little things like we're talking about. Like, I don't like it when people are really free and fast with, let's say, movement. Like, you have like your measuring stick on the table, and instead of going up to 6, they go to 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And they just go real quick and just, oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, like, that kind of stuff, and that's not that much different than them touching all your models too, knocking stuff over.
Oh,
like
wow. Yeah, that's etiquette on the table there, that's for sure.
There's little things like that could be really annoying, right? Like, anybody that comes and touches your stuff, that's not playing, or people that, just being really free with stuff that you've painted, knocking it over or whatever, annoying. Being fast and loose with the rules, like really quick, fast and loose with the rules. Like, I find that to be really annoying. I mean, certain games like X-Wing are really great because like you have the movement stick and everything's made a certain way to put it precisely where it's supposed to go. And that's kind of part of the game. It's part of the social contract that we're just going to play against these rules with these rules. And we want, being precise about it to a certain level, is kind of what we're trying to do here. And so that kind of stuff, I would say, even, maybe like, being really fast and loose with food, like around like everything.
Wow. Yeah.
Same kind of thing, it's like, I think that kind of stuff can be kind of bothersome. I guess, and it's funny because I really like children. Like I really, I don't mean this to sound bad. Uh-oh, did we just lose Rusty?
Rusty go.
Oh gosh. Well, I'll continue while I'm assuming that he's going to click back in, but okay. It is really easy when you're changing windows on StreamYard to kick yourself out, I've noticed, but I really do like children, and, I really like my children. Some people are so easygoing with their kids and to the point where they're really easygoing with your stuff with their kids, and you don't even know who they are. Right. Yeah. And that's really awkward. Like when you have like, you've spent like weeks painting something, and then all of a sudden, like, so they just let like a 5-year-old come up and grab it all.
Yeah. A gigantic dragon that you've been painting, the GW old school dragon with the orc mount on it that you've been painting for 5 months. Yeah. And then they drop it on the ground or something like that.
Yeah. No, I know. And so that, and I'll be honest, like I have some friends that are much less polite than I am about it, in the sense that I will usually try to fend things off pretty quickly. Like I'll send up like a verbal barrier. Like I'll go like, oh, they're coming towards miniatures, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I did paint those, and they took quite a long time, and like I'll gauge the kid, so kind of talking to me, but like, and I'll try to set up like a bit of a speed bump, to the models, but like I've had friends that just hate the parents, like when that happens, and they're just like, and so it's tough. As a parent myself, I can kind of understand the situation, but that's a bothersome thing. The easiest one to bring up in this, and it's sort of the elephant on the table, is the rules lawyer, in the sense that if you're playing casual games and you just can't play the game for the fear of bringing this out of the person. Like, in the sense that you start playing casually, you see what happens, like the rules lawyerness come out of them to the point where you're like, you almost can't play for fear of actually wanting that to come out of them. And I think that needing to just, I don't know, it's one thing. Like I really like to play a game correct. And so I've at times myself been self-conscious that I don't want to appear like a rules lawyer. Like I'm the kind of person that'll say like, I could care less whether the guy dies, but just, I like to know for myself, we're either getting into this game for the first time or we're doing it, like how should it have happened or whatever. It doesn't matter to me, but I just kind of like to know how it, because that's what we're trying to do, is play the game. But there are some folks that just, they just get really quite upset, and like, and it's just such a level of detail that stops the game, the paralysis that you're, different kind of a paralysis than what you were talking about, that I think can be quite annoying. And, we have one or two at our local club that are like that. And some of them have trouble getting a game, actually, because just their behavior.
Yeah, it's a social contract when you sit at the table to play a game. If you break that contract, then you're not going to get a game in it's, for a while.
Exactly.
And what's nice about rules written these days, like in the modern rules systems that are out there, usually on the first within the first 5 pages of a rules, there'll be some type of caveat about if you can't agree with a rule, dice it off or whatnot. I think GW does that on a regular basis, and in Gaslands they have the rule of carnage. So if you can't agree on the rule, then you rule on whatever does the most carnage on the table, which I think is fantastic.
Right. You know, the other thing that the other thing I really quite. Oh, go ahead. Did we lose Bill? You still there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah, I was gone. Or you didn't notice I disappeared for a while.
Okay. I don't know if it's me or you guys. I just saw a lot of freezing happening, but maybe it was me, my internet connection. But everybody, can you guys all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. One of the things that I do also dislike, and this might seem opposite of being friendly, but if I actually like make an appointment, let's say, like, because I have only a certain amount of time, like to play a game, and I actually like make a session to like play a friend a game, whether it be another friend or a complete stranger, I notice that sometimes people feel like you should always just let them into your game, like because they're there. And they were never really like, you never set this up to either of them. Like you scheduled a game with a friend down at the club, but then like somebody kind of wants to invite themselves in. They either want you to change your game, then what you ended up doing to like bring their army in and change the scenario, or they want you to just, I've literally had people that said, I've never played this game before. Do you mind if I just use your army and you teach me how to play? And like, I went there to, now I actually do a lot of demos, and I do actually have in the past, or I have done a lot of demos, and I've done stuff to teach folks, and I do like to include people. But, there's this sometimes like you actually set something up specific. You might even set something up with 3 friends. It's a 2-on-2, and you've been planning this during the week, and like you guys are going to do this. And then all of a sudden, either another friend or somebody you don't even know, like just come in and just feel kind of like entitled to just change the whole thing that day. Like, and I've seen that in a number of iterations. It sounds like I'm a nasty person, or a mean person, like, but I find sometimes there's a carefreeness to what we're trying to do or to set up. And you can imagine an extreme example. You actually set up a campaign, and you have like something very specific you're trying to do. And then in order to include someone, something very specific in their eyes needs to change, you know what I mean, that day, and in order to make that happen. And then maybe because I don't want to exclude people, I'm more offended by it in some ways. Like I don't want to exclude people, but at the same time, we're really trying to do this. And so in some ways it kind of is mildly offensive to me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, for me, I dropped out for a few minutes because my internet just decided to crap out, but it was something back here. It's like Dan Boomin says, what grinds my gears is that my opponents constantly on their phone. I'm there to engage, interact, and play the game, and they're checked out. It's like, oh yeah, okay, and they just throw their dice or whatever they got, and then they're back on their phone, chatting away, and it's like, okay, it's like it's an interaction time, and you're not engaged at all. You're off and talking to somebody else in La La Land. So,
yeah, that's worse when you're role playing and you're the DM.
Yeah,
you got 1 or 2 players that are doing that the entire session.
They're checked out. Oh, sorry. It's like your character. It's like, oh, a dragon came out of nowhere, swooped her out, and just grabbed your character and flew off. What?
Yeah.
When did that happen? Well, you're on your phone.
It's aggravating when that happens.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of fun stuff that can be really aggravating when you're playing individuals.
How about you, Rusty? I don't think you've gotten your round to give your other ones that What are the other kind of things that you dislike?
Typically, it's like is the total interaction. You know, occasionally it's like we'd be playing a game and I hear the ding comes in and the wife asks you a question in the middle of the game, and it's like it irritates me when that happens. Someone else sitting there spend all their time on their phone chatting away with someone else, and it's like, I'm sorry, I have to do. It's like she wants an immediate answer, and it's like I hate doing that. It's like even myself, it's irritating. It's like you're sitting there with your book. You got a magazine or a book in your hand, and you're just sitting there, reading around, and it's like, I guess the game is not that important to you. It's like you must play 7 days a week for, 2-3 hours a day. You get your games in, and it's like you're not interacting with me. This might be my only game of the week, so I'd like to have some face-to-face time. So, and if you ever watched any of my videos, it's like when I'm doing a bat rep, the amount of interaction that we're going on, we're throwing stuff at each other's face, literally, of insult. It's like that's how we play our game. It's like we're engaged. It's like, all right, so fine. It's like we're having fun though. We're doing it in a friendly way.
Yeah.
So, but if you're not, if you're over there in your corner, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do my little thing, then I'll go back to reading my magazine or whatever it may be. So,
that mentality, I would argue, in some ways, is not that much different than the person that has their friends in a game behind them, and they say they'll play a game with you, but they pretty much talk with them the whole time and don't really engage with you that much, and don't you're kind of more strictly all you are as an opponent. Like you might as well be computer chess to them. That's and that's not that much different than just completely disengaging and going off and just like looking at the phone and not talking and stuff. Or it's just sort of a basic level of disregard or impoliteness, I think.
Are you seeing it more in the younger people today, or is it still just across the board? Is socially inept individuals?
Was that for myself or Bill?
Yes. I don't care. It was like, Bill, what do you think?
I wasn't paying attention.
Exactly. That's the problem.
I want my opponent to be engaged in the table and what's going on with the table. And so, and you actually caught me reading the chat on the so.
See, he was reading the book on the side. All right, you're excused.
I'll answer first. I'll answer first, just to give you just for the nuances here. I would say that my inclination is to.
Uh-oh.
He's frozen up.
He froze. It's really cold up there in Canada.
Oh, boy.
All right. So just give you an idea here. It's like, is it the younger or is it just a socially inept individuals that spend all their time not engaging in a game?
Okay, guys, I think I froze that time.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well, I would say that for me, it's not a generational thing. Like I actually find people are willing, like there are people that have that sort of personality bent or various issues that could be of any age, it just could be different things. Like I don't, as much as I'd like to say that like certain generations are more linked to their phone than like, let's say older generations, it may be true that with the phone, like you might see it a little on the younger side going up into Generation X or whatever, but maybe less so with the baby boomers, who knows? But I think that weird, like dysfunctional social kind of behavior can take on many different forms and have nothing to do with the phone, and could probably be across all of the age groups to a degree, is what I would say.
Yeah.
I really think it is. You have your socially inept individuals, no matter what age they are. They could be 100. You have individuals that, no matter what, don't have the skills to be able to read people. They don't, or they're so shy. They have enough that they want to go out there and do something with you, but they go in. And then if you get into a game their way of dealing with the stress of the game is just kind of like disconnecting themselves and focusing on something else.
Now you got the flip side of the coin. You got the Gronards. I'm not sure if you're old enough to what those are.
Well, explain it because I've heard the term.
All right.
I want to hear you.
All right, for those that
They're
don't know, put the definition up.
older generation wargamers that are so intense on what the war game is, they'll be counting the buttons on the uniforms.
Yeah.
And if you don't have this at an exact color or whatnot, oh no, the world's going to come to an end.
Rivet. We called them before we knew the term Gronards. We called them the rivet counters.
Yeah,
because they would count every rivet on a tank. It's like, well, that is not officially correct because it's missing this. The pickaxe is supposed to be located right here, and it's supposed to have the tow cables right here at this color, and it's supposed to be this color. And you're like, I painted it. It's painted. Just let it.
Let's play. Let's let it ride.
Like, and whether it be rivet counting or whether it be a number of different things, like there are some folks that are looking for a reason not to be happy, right?
Yeah.
And like there are some folks that are looking for a reason to kind of put you in your place. If it's not through the game, it's through the way you painted something or the way you actually played. Your interpretation of the rule, or it just there's just some folks that are just gonna like look for a reason not to have a good time, and so I think that comes in a lot of different forms. And one of the fortunate things is over time, you hopefully meet a number of friends that you enjoy gaming with, and then you've kind of been through this stuff before, and you can kind of pick these people out, right? And I think that you're most vulnerable, unfortunately, I think, when you know the least amount of people and you're just entering the gaming community. It's almost as if you're most vulnerable when you're the most likely to get hit with it. And that's unfortunate because I've had bad experiences, and I don't know, like it's unfortunate because once you actually have a good group of friends to play with, or you're kind of tapped into the community and you've dealt with a lot of this stuff, you're in a much better position to not have to deal with it, really.
Yeah. Now there's another one that really trips my trigger a bit is you're there to have fun.
Yeah.
And then you get those individuals that will needle you, belittle you to the point, or they on the opposite, you do something so simple as like you kill off a couple guys and they get just royally pissed off.
Oh boy.
And they get mad, they rip and they grab their stuff. It's like, dude, they get resurrected at the end of the game.
It's just a game.
It's a game, man. It's like I rolled the dice and I killed a few of them. It's like they're coming back. I didn't squish them with a hammer or something. Don't take it personal. And it's like, man, that's another one. It's like you get into games where you got individuals that would just sit there and just get pissed off about the simplest. Like,
yeah.
Why are we playing it?
Do you guys remember the video game Street Fighter?
Oh, yes. Yeah, Street Fighter 2
is a classic game, right? Street Fighter 2. I think it was Street Fighter 2 actually. But when I was a kid playing Street Fighter, I don't know if you guys remember, but you had you could play against each other, right? Like you had your joystick and your buttons, 6 buttons, joystick, 6 buttons, whatever. I think that one of the craziest examples of what you just sort of talked about, Rusty, was when I remember with those games, if you lost, you had to put another quarter in. The guy that won didn't, right? And I remember beating somebody 10 times in a row. They just kept coming back. They just had a pocket full of quarters that they were putting into this thing. But I thought at one point that person was just going to tear that machine apart. Honestly, after the 9th or 10th time that they lost, I thought they were just going to literally tear that machine apart because they were getting so aggressive with it, right? They were so mad. They weren't turning on me yet, but they were hitting that thing and going crazy. It might as well. All he had to do was turn, right? Because he was and honestly,
it's like full lizard brain engagement. It's like, I hate to tell you, it's like when you get really mad at something, you start not thinking. When you stop not thinking, you start losing, and when you start losing, you stop thinking even more. So it just starts snowballing, so you got a full-fledged avalanche going. And I was like, my gosh, it's like people, it's like if you're only playing once a week, you're here to have fun. It's like, yeah, I lose games. I lose them every once in a while, or once a lot. It's like 50%. It's like when you go into a game, you have a 50% chance of winning. That's that's the odds. Yeah. Sometimes it just goes in your favor. It's like you just go and expect it. I'm going to lose something. My guy is dying. It's like, oh, they're going to Valhalla of Miniature Land,
Well, they are, because they get to resurrect the next day and fight, right?
That's correct. That's the lovely thing I love about just playing games. It's like your stuff comes back, and if it's really painted really nice, they come back just the same way.
Well, painted really nice, on the other hand, that's another grind my gears moment.
Yeah.
When you play against that one guy and his army is completely gray plastic, and it's been that way for 6 months.
Yeah. You haven't took the effort to even put primer on it.
Yeah. And I have not only a painted army, but I made all the terrain up, handmade terrain and so forth. And it took all this effort, and then what's going on, guy? You don't even have primer on your guys, on your miniatures. And you're coming here week after week with the same unpainted army.
Well, one of the game shops that we played at here, the rule was if you're going to put stuff on the table, it has to be painted at least 3 colors. Mm-hmm. You have to put the effort into your army. If you're going to buy it, put some effort into it to make it look like you mean it to be there. And then you get into, like, we had the local gaming group. We had a club, which was a historical club. And we had a few rivet counters in there. And those guys, it's like I played Napoleonics, or, it's like, all right, I'm building this unit. How do I do it? And then they'll go into a long dissertation. Those guys are gone now. They literally passed on. But, it's like,
wow.
All right, this is what you have to do. It's got to be this, this, and this. And it's like, I made the mistake a few times. It's like painting a couple armies and bringing it on. It's like, that's not correct. They're painted. It's like, but it's not correct. Sir, you must do this. And then they'll go into a long dissertation. You're like, okay, I'm taking notes. For the next unit I put out there will be correct.
Yeah.
But, it's like you just got to take it for what it is. And in some ways, these guys, they come across as being rude, crude, and obnoxious in sort of a way, but they're just like the spirit of history is so ingrained into them that they want it to come out perfectly. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to try my best. So,
yeah, I appreciate it when someone goes to effort to paint an army. And when I was hosting tournaments for Flames of War, which is a World War II game, by the way.
Yep. It's 40K in 1940.
Well, maybe I don't know about that, but we would get the 40K players, youngsters, coming in and buying armies, painting them up, and then playing them, and not quite. They were a little more creative with painting the armies than
they weren't historically correct, are you saying?
But sometimes you get guys that would blatantly get things completely wrong, and you'd be like, well, you did a great job painting the army, but the 75 millimeter gun on the Sherman, instead of being silver, you might want to have it as OD green. That might be cooler. Oh,
it's metal.
Oh, you were the grown-up. Yeah. Now we know the whole story.
Well, I mean, try to soften the blow with saying, I'm glad you had paint on it.
You did some right work, son, but I've heard that myself. It's like, like I said, you put a lot of work into your historical miniatures, and you're like, they look great. And I was like, but what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
I think in the end, most of the behaviors in the end that we encounter in wargaming, they take on a recognizable form because we're all at that medium. We're at the table. We have the armies. We have the rules, and like people, either become rules lawyers or they get fast and loose with their rulers, or they're, not being respectful in some way. But in the end, like, it's all stuff that you would see in other aspects of life if you engage them in a different way. In another aspect of life, you would see signs of those kind of behaviors just in another way. I think in a lot of ways, people are funny when they come together as groups to begin with, right? Like, whether it be work or whether it be other kinds of things, people can be funny when they come together. And the ones that actually have some sort of standout-ish social ineptness, as we said, in some way, like if it's not in wargaming, it's going to show up in some other way, right? And
Yep.
so I think, in the end, like, that's something that will always be there. I don't think it's going away.
Well, you get some of these individuals, like you're saying, that they measure a little too much or something. It's like, oh, it's supposed to be 4 inches. They measure 5 or 6 on some. They're going fast. They're just going crazy. It's like you get into the heat of the moment, and it's like the enthusiasm's there. They want to play. You got to give them that. And then eventually, it's like, all right. I've noticed a few things that you've been doing here while we're playing the game. Just keep an eye out. A little bit better how you're measuring things out. You're doing good. That type of thing. Occasionally you get across, even our own group. We got a couple individuals that will do that. It's like from the measuring from the back of the vehicle to the front of the vehicle. It's like, or put it from the front and they measure to the back. So you get a whole length, extra length of the vehicle forward, that type of thing.
Sometimes that's against them too. When they're trying to get to your army that much faster.
Yep.
And then they find out your army's a melee army instead of a shooting army.
Yeah.
If they're going to make a mistake, don't interrupt them.
Yep. That's good advice. Come on, boy, get a little closer. I'm ready to go. Nom, nom, nom,
nom. Yeah. There's one other thing. That you touched on, Palmer, was people coming to the game, and there's an aspect about that I have like a pet peeve about, and this is probably from my military background, is when people come late, or they don't come at all, and they don't bother to text me or call me.
Yeah.
That really grinds my gears, and I mean, come on, text me, let me know. Hey, so I'm not standing there.
I took my time out of my day to do this with you. And you're either late or you're not showing up at all without any reason why you're not going to be there. It's like, I pulled the table. It's like you go over to the game shop. I've had this happen to many times because you hook up with somebody on a Facebook thing. It's like you set the table up, you got everything up, all the terrain laid out, you got your army sitting there ready, and you go like an hour later, and the guy that owns the store goes, "What? Where's your partner at?" I don't know. I haven't heard from him.
And I had that happen to me years ago when I was first learning how to play Infinity. I went on to a local group and I set up a game locally with an individual. And I asked if anybody wanted to do a game on Friday at a club that was 40 minutes from where I lived.
Oh boy.
And Rusty, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I think
you just froze.
Yeah, he froze again. His internet's kind of like mine did for a while.
Okay, I'm back.
There it is.
Yeah, you're having the same problem. It's like every once in a while
the
internet just freezes up on you. Those electrons take a long time to get from that cold Canada.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. But I had a 40-minute away travel to this place. It was about an hour and 20 minutes, and the guy never showed up. I actually on Facebook wrote him and like, "Are you coming? Like, what's going on?" Because that's how I found out. Never responded. And the funny thing is, years later, several years later, on the local trading group, I occasionally see him come on and make posts about things, and I know who he is. It's the same guy, and I've never forgotten it. I can forget lots of things, and over time, like Maria's faces. But when somebody does something like that to me, where they've wasted that much of their time, it's very much a slap in the face.
Mhm.
It's like you said, it's an insult. So like being late constantly is one of those things that always shows how much people feel about other people's time, but then completely, not showing up for a game with no excuse. I mean, it's one of those things that will show up in other areas of their life, right? It's not going to be just this. It's going to show up in other areas of their life.
It's a habit or some type of trait that is common throughout their life, that they don't take in effect of looking at other people's opinions, or it's like, oh, it's no big deal, I'm late, so what?
Yeah.
But you're taking my time away now.
Yeah.
See, that's where the social media aspect or the community of Facebook comes into play, because at that point, I lay out a fantastic terrain table, and I take pictures of it, and with my army on it, and then I immediately post it up on Facebook when people are late, and go, "Hey, where is so and so?"
Ah, yeah, the walk of shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool to be.
That's one way to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I had somebody that had some really nice terrain to play with, that'd be great.
Yeah. And so, in speaking of time and schedules and being cognizant of time, we probably are about 15 minutes over our normal programming, and so I probably no, it's not. No.
Right, so our show is gone on to an hour and 45 minutes. So
we do an hour and a half more often than not now, and so it's really but I know some folks are only here for a certain period of time as far as people that come to watch the show, but I think some really good, interesting topics tonight. And so I think we covered them pretty well. It's definitely interesting, and definitely appreciate you coming on the show, Bill. I think you've added a lot to the program tonight. We appreciate your insights on it.
My pleasure. Yeah, thanks for inviting such a small fry YouTube channel.
No big deal. We're all small little minnows at one time. We're minnows in a very big sea. So.
I'm a guppy or something like that.
Yeah, it's just to let people know it's not a big deal. If you want to join us, come on over. Let us know in advance, and you can come on the show and have fun with us. And the musty drink of the night is not necessary, but it makes it fun. So
there we go. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't have one tonight. I must not have. Okay.
I was waiting for you to crack a new one. That's why I was just like, oh, it's going to break out a Coors Light here soon.
That's right.
You need some more water.
Well, okay, gentlemen, it has been another great episode.
Yes, it has. Thanks, Bill, for stopping in and joining us. And all the individuals out there that joined us tonight on the chat and throwing their thoughts in on everything. Do enjoy having the individuals join us every time we have a stream. So if you want to join us, come on over. And the next one will be in 2 weeks, which will be, so this is the 24th, right?
Yeah, so 2 weeks. It's still, it should be 2 weeks from today. I don't know the date, but we'll definitely just expect 2 weeks, just like normal on a Thursday. We did have a comment from Skarnir, whether we have an email address for guests. I think the most convenient way, if you want to actually touch base with us, if possible, is to look up the Musty Wargamers on Facebook, and we are both on there, so you'll see our profiles in there, and you're able to message us. If not, you could always just through one of our YouTube channels send us a comment, and we could get you an email address. We both have email addresses associated with our channels as well.
With the new system we're using, StreamYard, I put the invites through Facebook, so that was how we got a hold of everybody. So if you're part of a Facebook thing too, so and we can throw it out through email, either or, one or the other. So if you're friends with us on Facebook, we can send it that way. If you need an email, we can send it through email also. No big deal. So if you want to join us, let us know.
Those guys have Facebook or YouTube channels too. So
So it works
All right.
many different ways. All right, guys, it was a great show. Enjoyed all the conversation with everybody, with a few of us dropping out due to the internet problems.
Sorry
I
about
don't
that.
know. It must be the weather or something, but it still worked out fine. So we're
Yeah.
still rocking on.
Yeah, it's
That's
pretty
right.
cold. It's 80 degrees out here.
It's probably dropped down to 40 by now for me. So
Oh, no.
now the front was just close. Dan Booman's probably colder than I am right now. So he's to the west of me. So he's enjoying all the nice colder air already. So, all right. We'll drop out of here and let you guys enjoy the show. Thanks for stopping in, and we'll talk with you all later.
See you, everybody.